book lovers! Top 10 Tuesdays is a weekly meme hosted by the Broken the Bookish blog, and I'm going to put a link to this week's post down in the TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside. So today's topic is top 10 books I recommend the most. Now, at first I wasn't sure if this meant just your top 10 favorite books, like that you recommend the most because they're the best, or if it meant top 10 books that you recommend like the most times to the most people. And I'm taking it that way because otherwise it's just your top 10 favorite books and you can do that anytime. But these are not necessarily going to be my favorite books, but I mean a lot of them are, but they're just the books that I feel that a lot of other people would enjoy, so I find myself recommending them an awful lot to other people. So, here we go. Number 1, Sloppy First by Megan McCafferty. This is one of my top 5 favorite books ever. I've read this book so many times, I can't even tell you, but it's contemporary YA, it's told in journal format, and it's the journal of Jessica Darling, for anyone who doesn't know, and she's one of my favorite YA heroines. She's very witty and snarky, and just, she is made of awesome. I love her, and this is actually a 5-book series, so yay! If you check it out and you like it, then you get to read 4 other books, which is always a plus, because in contemporary books, that doesn't really happen as often. There's not always a series like there is in fantasy, so I love this and all of the sequels. Number 2, Looking for Alaska by John Green. I mean, how can you not recommend John Green to people? Although, I doubt in the booktube community that anyone needs this recommendation. Everybody pretty much knows about John Green. But I mean, out in the world with my friends and family and coworkers, I'm often telling people to read this book because I think a lot of different people would enjoy it. Number 3, This Lullaby by Sarah Dessen. Sarah Dessen is one of my favorite YA authors. She's probably my favorite YA author. She was definitely my first favorite, and since then I've definitely been introduced to a lot of other amazing authors, but since she's my first, I think, she'll always be my favorite. And this is one of my 2 favorite Sarah Dessen books. The other is Just Listen, but I tend to recommend this one the most to girls that I think would like contemporary YA, like a little romance. But this book is really great, and it's not just like a cheesy romance. There's a lot more to it than that, I think. So I recommend this book a lot. Number 4, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chobsky. And yes, I just went with that pronunciation of his name. I have no idea how you really say it, so I made it up. I mean, this book is wonderful, and again, now with the movie out, I feel like a lot more people actually know about it, and I don't really have to recommend it as much, but I still do. I've gotten a lot of friends to read this book in the past before the movie even came out, so yep. Number 5, One for the Money by Janet Evanovich. This is actually adult fiction, and this is the Stephanie Plum series, the first book in the Stephanie Plum series, and it's one of the very few adult series that I really enjoy, and I recommend this book to everyone because I recommend it to people my age, and then I recommend it to, well, actually, I got my mom and my grandmother reading it, and I recommend it all the time. But because of that, I find myself losing this book a lot. This actually just came from Amazon today, and I believe this is the 5th copy I've owned of this book. I'm not positive, but I have given it out a lot to people and never gotten it back. Usually when I realize it's missing is when I want to recommend it to someone else and I don't have it to give to them. And funny thing is, I ordered this a few days ago because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give in and buy another copy. And then a friend at work was asking me for book recommendations, and I was like, well, actually, you'd really love this book, so I have to bring it to work tomorrow to give to her. But she promised to give it back, so we'll see how that goes. Number 6, Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. I feel this is like classic YA, and when people ask about YA or just people that I feel would like this kind of story, like a little bit of a darker contemporary story, then I recommend this because it's fantastic. Number 7, Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. I feel like this is probably the newest book in my top 10 list because I just read it last year, but it is fantastic. Like, I can't even... I read a ton of YA, and I enjoy a lot of it, but there's not that much that I'm really like, this is a wonderful, wonderfully written, brilliant, brilliant story. And this one is. I read this, and it just shot right up into my top 5 favorite books of all time. Number 8, Delirium by Laurie and Alire. This is the start of a wonderful, wonderful dystopian trilogy, and I'm sure a lot of people on watching these booktube videos already know about it, but I do recommend it all the time to friends and people that I think would like a YA romance that's not typical. It's not just a cheesy contemporary love story. It's pretty fantastic, and you should check it out. Number 9, The Lie by Chad Kultgen. This is adult fiction, and I almost feel like guilty putting it in this video because I tend to talk mostly about young adult and children's literature, and this is probably one of the raunchiest books I've ever read. The funny thing about me is I read almost exclusively young adult literature, but on my adult shelf, when it comes to adult reading, I tend to go for the raunchy guy books, both fiction and nonfiction, and that's just something I really like. I think they're really funny. I think there's a lot of really funny male authors out there, and this guy, yeah, he's probably my favorite adult fiction author right now. This is his second book. His first was called The Average American Male, and his third that came out last year was called Men, Women, and Children, and I love them all. But I think I enjoy this one the most because it is about 3 college students and their relationships with each other. And this book is kind of fascinating to me. I really, really loved it, and I do recommend it to a different audience than I recommend a lot of my other books to. I recommend this to a lot of my guy friends and girls that, like me, I know would appreciate a really messed up story. And number 10, The Pact by Jodi Picoult. Jodi Picoult is also one of my favorite adult authors, and I think I've already shown this book in at least one other video, but this is probably my favorite novel by her, and also because it's about teenagers instead of middle-aged men and women, and it's heartbreaking, and I love it, and it's fantastic, and she's amazing, so everyone should check that out. Alright. So that's my list. What are the top 10 books that you guys recommend the most to people? If you want to leave it in a comment or a video response, or if you want to respond as a blog post or anything, you can leave your little link to your post on the Broken the Bookish website, because that's what they do. They'll do their own post with their own top 10 list, and then they'll set up a little thing at the bottom where you can link to your own. So that's what I'm doing. I'm linking this video. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, bye! Now go read.